Amsterdam nearly failed. Singapore flooded. Cities we were told were climate ready got overwhelmed. Not because of bad luck, but because of a hidden flaw baked into their very design. At first glance, these cities look like climate champions. Bike lanes, green rooftops, flood parks, all the buzzwords. But when real stress hits, those systems start to break. And behind the PR, a pattern starts to emerge. Today, we are digging into the myth that green means resilience through two cities that were meant to be ready. And by the end, I'll show you a simple test that you can run on your own city to see if it would survive what's coming. The Netherlands built the Delta Works, a €5 billion system of dams, sluices and storm surge barriers. And it's often held up as the gold standard in flood protection worldwide. But these Delta Works, they protect the coast at national scale. Let's now take a look at one of their cities, Amsterdam. It has to rely on its own network, canals, pumping station and the IJmuiden Sea barrier to keep the IJsselmeer and the North Sea at bay. In January of 2024, Storm Henk drove water levels higher than any model had predicted. At the worst point, the barrier was just 15 centimeters removed from failing. 15 centimeters, that's 1.5 hand removed from failure. Amsterdam had ticked every box. Green streets to absorb the water, canal restoration for extra storage, flood park designs to let the water in when needed. Yet, when the storm surge came, the systems faltered because those measures were calibrated to past conditions, not the more extreme downpours and higher seas we are facing now. Half a world away, Singapore took a different approach. One that I have even praised myself. Rain gardens, green corridors and a citywide push to turn hard surfaces into a sponge. But in May 2021, a monsoon dumped over 15 centimeters of rainwater in under an hour, far beyond the system's design. That's more rain than Singapore usually gets in an entire month, and it fell in less than an hour. Floodwater swallowed streets whole, stranding commuters, flooding homes, and shutting down entire neighborhoods, just kilometers from the city center. Singapore's system looks perfect on paper. Rain gardens, canals, and permeable surfaces were all in place. But just like Amsterdam, it was designed for a climate that no longer exists. The assumption about rainfall intensity and frequency, those cracked under pressure. This wasn't a failure of construction, it was a failure of planning. Planning based on past conditions, not an unpredictable future. Two cities, two celebrated projects, each promised resilience, each tested by an event that pushed it to its edge. And they're not alone. From Berlin to Jakarta, cities around the world are facing the same problem. It's tempting to say that these systems failed because they relied too much on green infrastructure, but that's not quite it. The real flaw is this: they were designed as standalone fixes, not as part of a resilient system. One project, one layer, one assumption. And when reality shifts, everything rests on that one bed. Real resilience isn't about stopping every disaster. It's about designing for failure without collapse. Like a well-built airplane, lose one engine, the plane still flies. A resilient city works the same way. One layer backs up another. If one fails, the rest adapts. But most cities, they don't work this way. Everything is singular, designed to minimum thresholds, built once, then left alone. No stress tests, no performance audits, and political pressure to keep costs low and headlines positive. If your city's plan depends on terrain not falling too hard, or the sea not rising too fast, you don't have a plan, you have a bet. So, what does real resilience look like? Let's explore the 3 pillars every city must have to survive what's coming. Green projects aren't enough, and grey systems can fail too. But real resilience is not a silver bullet. It's a system built on 3 pillars. Miss one, and the whole thing comes crashing down. The first pillar stands for multi-layer defenses. Nature-based solutions and hard infrastructure work best when they work together, because they do different things very well. Green infrastructure, like parks and wetlands, can absorb and delay water naturally. They are self-regulating, flexible, and can even adapt over time as patterns shift. Grey infrastructure, like pumps and tunnels, can handle high extremes fast, but they are rigid, expensive, and often need constant human control and maintenance. Real resilience means using both: green to slow the storm and grey to steer it away safely. Pillar 2. Transparent performance. Cities love to promise they're climate ready, but very few actually test whether their systems still hold up. Real resilience means measuring rainfall, testing response times, pushing audits, and tracking weak spots before they fail. And it's not just about government reports. Performance data must be public, so citizens, journalists, and watchdogs can hold the systems accountable. And third, adaptive governance, because the climate isn't standing still, and your city's plans shouldn't either. It's not just about building the right thing once. It's about funding regular updates, looping in maintenance teams, and adapting strategies every few years based on the latest data. So we don't build for climates that no longer exist. And most importantly, communities have to be at the table themselves. When residents help design solutions, cities spot blind spots earlier and build trust when it matters most. So when we talk about resilience, it's not some checklist or shiny headline. It's a city that uses nature and engineering side by side. It doesn't just claim to be climate ready, but it actually tests itself. Then it keeps evolving even after the ribbon is cut. Because the storm doesn't care if your plan looks good on paper. The question is, can your city take a hit and keep going? Now maybe you're thinking, this all sounds good in theory, but does it actually work? It can. Take Medellin in Colombia. A city once infamous for violence now leads in urban resilience. They restored old canals, created water plazas that double as public space, and they co-designed policies with the communities who live there. The results? Peak flood levels dropped by 40%. Not because they built one perfect project, but because they built a layered evolving system. Exactly what the 3 pillars look like on paper. If you want a full breakdown on Medellin, let me know in the comments. I might make a future deep dive. So now the big question is, how does your city stack up? Here's a quick checklist you can use to check it out. Are the defenses layered? Not just green, not just grey. Are results measured and public? And is there funding and a plan to adapt over time? If any of those are missing, your city might look safe on paper, but can crack under real pressure. Don't wait for systems to fail. Ask the right questions, talk to local planners, and get involved. Because this myth isn't just dangerous, it is disempowering. And the truth, that's what makes real change possible. This video explored another piece of the urban climate crisis puzzle, and how cities are struggling to stay resilient in the face of floods and storms. If you want to see more, I've linked another video that breaks down the challenges and solutions cities are trying worldwide. Next week, we are diving into one of our biggest and often overlooked problems, urban heat, and no amount of green space can ever truly stop it. If you are learning something new or want to see your city in a new light, consider subscribing. I'd love for you to join our community as we build a sustainable tomorrow together. Thanks for watching.